The entire world had been drafted into the Hunger Tower Initiative. A massive stone platform laden with a feast would rise slowly from the ground floor, ascending through the building. By the time it reached the tenants on the 333rd floor, there would be no delicacies left, only scraped plates and debris. My wife's one that got away, her precious high school sweetheart, had the misfortune of drawing a residency card for the penthouse level, the 333rd floor, the starvation zone. She knelt before me, tears streaming down her face. "Caleb, please. You're assigned to the 10th floor. You have to help Julian. Swap cards with him, please. I'm begging you." I stared at her, saying nothing. She and her golden boy rushed forward like maniacs, snatching the key card for the 10th floor from my hand. They looked like survivors of a plane crash, laughing and crying in relief, while I stood there, watching with cold indifference. They didn't know I could stop time. Whether I was in the penthouse or the basement, for me, it was always an all-you-can-eat buffet. Elena bit her lip, sobbing as she tried to justify her betrayal. "Caleb, you're healthy. You can handle it. Julian is different. His constitution is weak. 300 floors is too high up. The food will never reach him. He won't last a month. He'll actually die." Julian Cross stood half a step behind her. His face was pale, but as he avoided my gaze, the corners of his mouth twitched upward. He didn't say a word to me, his eyes fixed adoringly on Elena. "Please don't be mad at me, baby." Elena's tears flowed freely, her voice trembling. "It's just for 1 month. I'll make it up to you later, I swear." She let go of my wrist and grabbed my lapels, shaking me gently. "Listen, when the platform reaches the 10th floor, I'll be there. I'll hide some food in a corner under the table for you. I won't let you starve. Trust me." Julian finally spoke up, feigning a look of deep gratitude. "Caleb, take care of yourself. I'll look after Elena for you, don't worry." He paused, and a grin broke across his face, revealing a flash of white teeth. "Besides, a month flies by. I'll come to collect your body then." He pretended to realize his slip-up and lightly slapped his own mouth. "Listen to me, what a joke. I mean, I'll come and visit you. In a month." Elena buried her face in her hands and wept. Julian placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, stroking it gently. I didn't say a single word. I just looked at the card in my hand marked 333. Then, I turned and walked toward the freight elevator leading to the top floor. The heavy metal doors slid shut behind me, sealing off the adulterous pair. The penthouse, an empty, sterile concrete room. In the center of the floor lay a massive circular void, over 30 feet in diameter, dropping straight down into a bottomless abyss. On the opposite wall, a gigantic surveillance screen displayed the status of any floor in the tower. 2 cots were pushed against the walls. A girl was curled up on one of them, her face obscured. Seeing me, she offered a weak smile. "Hey, handsome, if there's any food later, leave a little for me, okay?" I didn't answer. I stared down into the dark void. A mechanical humming sound began to grow louder and heavier. An electronic, synthesized voice boom from the ceiling speakers. Dining period commencing. Platform ascending. Participants must consume on-site. Hoarding is prohibited. Violators will be terminated. Through the surveillance monitor, I watched the stone platform piled high with food. Whole roasted suckling pigs with crackling golden skin. Mountains of fresh bluefin tuna sashimi. Prime rib steaks dripping in au jus. Colorful, intricate French pastries. Massive lobsters and king crab legs. The mountain of food was so immense the aroma seemed to overpower the smell of bleach in the room, even through the screen. The people on the first floor began to feast. They ate with gluttonous abandon, wasting as much as they consumed, not caring a whit whether the people above them would eat. Soon, the stone platform reached the 10th floor. The remaining food had been picked over, leaving a mess, but there was still plenty. Julian held a glass of red wine, his arm wrapped possessively around Elena's waist. Elena leaned into his chest, her cheeks flushed with wine and warmth. She glanced at the monitor for the 10th floor and realized I was watching them from the penthouse. Elena's face reddened further, a flicker of panic in her eyes. Then, surreptitiously, she pointed to a spot on the edge of the stone platform. There, next to a pile of spilled salad greens and some smashed cakes, a bone china plate was turned upside down. Elena's finger tapped the inverted plate, her lips moving soundlessly. Her eyes were pleading, signaling me. Julian saw it. He casually reached out and shoved the plate aside, revealing a bread roll hidden underneath. Elena looked shocked, staring at him in disbelief. "Julian, if we don't hide it, what about my husband? Will he have anything to eat?" Julian put on a pitiful, wronged expression. "Elena, baby, we can't hide that roll. It's a long way up to the top floor. Someone is bound to find it. If the system flags us for hoarding, the penalty is death. We'd be tortured. Elena looked like she wanted to cry, but couldn't. Her lips trembled. The platform continued its ascent. The scraps became fewer and fewer. Finally, the digital counter jumped to 333. The massive stone table rose through the hole in our floor. There wasn't a crumb left. Every plate had been licked clean. Julian's face appeared in a small picture-in-picture window on the screen. He leaned into the camera lens and smirked. "Caleb, buddy, this diet plan is pretty unique, huh? A cleanse. Very healthy." He toothed and shook his head mockingly. Elena squeezed into the frame next to him. Her eyes were red and swollen, tear tracks still staining her face. She looked at the empty stone platform in my room, then at me on the screen. Her lips quivered, and fresh tears spilled out instantly. "Caleb, how could you not get a single bite? What are we going to do? You're going to starve to death." She suddenly started pounding her fist against the wall, wailing, "No, this isn't right. Swap me up there. Bring my husband down. I can't bear watching him starve." The cold, electronic voice interrupted. "Rule verification. Survival pass exchange privilege. Limit 1 use per participant. Applicant: Elena Vance, floor 10. Target: Caleb Vance, floor 333. Confirm immediate exchange. This action is irreversible. Please answer, confirm or cancel. Please answer, confirm or cancel." The sound of pounding stopped abruptly. Elena's sobs caught her throat. Her mouth hung open, tears still wet on her cheeks. She stared dead at the screen, then looked at Julian beside her, then back at the empty table on floor 333. The air solidified. In the monitor, her expression was a masterpiece of hesitation. Elena wavered for a moment, then gave an awkward, embarrassed smile. Let's wait a bit. Well, my husband really can't hold on anymore. Then I'll switch." As soon as she said it, her body went limp, and she fell into Julian's waiting arms. She buried her face in his chest, her shoulders shaking again. I couldn't tell if it was from shame or relief. I shook my head helplessly. The acting was terrible. Night fell. The new feast began its cycle. I snapped my fingers lightly. Time stopped. I walked to the service elevator, descended to the first floor, and began my private buffet. Prime rib, lobster, caviar. After eating and drinking my fill, I took the elevator back up to the 333rd floor. I snapped my fingers again. Time resumed. The girl on the other bed stirred. She sniffed the air, her eyes widening in shock as she looked at me. "Hey, did you eat something? You smell delicious." She scooted forward, leaning her body toward me. Her oversized collar slipped down a fraction. "If you have food, give me a little, okay? Whatever you want to do. I'm game." The girl's face came into the light, visible to the cameras. Julian, down on the 10th floor, saw her on his monitor. First, he shook his head in disbelief, then he screamed. "Trixie? Trixie Hart, is that you? How are you here? The penthouse? Floor 333. Trixie Hart heard Julian's voice from the speakers. She froze, then burst into aggrieved tears. "Julian, you're on the 10th floor? Trixie is so hungry. Julian, it's been a whole day. Not a bite to eat. I'm going to die. What do I do? There's a pervert in the room with me who says if I want food, I have to pay the price." Julian's face twisted in the monitor. He screamed, "Caleb, you son of a bitch. If you dare touch Trixie, I'll kill you. Trixie, don't cry. I'll swap floors with you. I'm swapping right now." Beside him, Elena froze. She asked suspiciously, "Julian, who is she?" Julian didn't even turn his head. He waved her off impatiently. "Beat it. Just a junior from college. Don't get in the way." The color drained from Elena's face instantly. "A junior? You're going to swap floors with her right now? Are you insane?" She looked at him blankly. "We stole my husband's chance at survival to get the 10th floor, and now you want to hand that chance to your junior? My husband is up there starving, and you're giving it to her? Is your brain broken?" Next to me, Trixie frowned and yelled at the screen. "Who is this old hag? Why are you screeching? Julian loves me. He wants to swap with me. What business is it of yours?" "Trixie, hang on. I'm coming." Julian had already pulled up the exchange interface. The system's icy voice rang out again. "Survival Pass exchange application. Julian Cross, floor 10. Request exchange with Trixie Hart, floor 333. Confirm? This action is irreversible." "Confirm," Julian shouted, terrified of being a second too late. He didn't even glance at Elena. Elena turned to stone. The elevator doors opened. Trixie shot me a smug, triumphant look and stepped inside. Moments later, Julian arrived on floor 333. Things were getting interesting. Julian sat on the cot, looking numb, staring blankly at the surveillance screen. Trixie was already seated at the dining table on the 10th floor. She immediately grabbed a rack of lamb and began tearing into it. Julian licked his dry lips and spoke to the screen. Trixie, hide some food for me. Anything. Quick, put it under a plate. Elena, you hide some too, I'm starving. On the screen, Trixie lifted her heavy eyelids, gave a contemptuous sneer, and completely ignored him. Elena, pale as a ghost, stared at Trixie. Then, she pursed her lips and slipped a piece of bread under a bowl. Trixie snorted with laughter. You think he's going to get that bread? Keep dreaming. By the time it goes up 300 floors, there won't even be crumbs left. Save your energy. Elena looked lost, her eyes filled with confusion. But, my husband is up there, and Julian. My husband swapped with Julian, and Julian swapped with you. Is this how you treat him? Trixie laughed as if she'd heard the world's funniest joke, wiping grease from her mouth with a linen napkin. Julian Cross? He's just a simp I've been stringing along for 3 years. A loser I got bored of playing with. Who does he think he is? She leaned back, crossing her arms and tilting her chin up. And look at you. You've got a husband and a home, yet you're tripping over yourself to swap floors for a side piece? Pouring your heart out, playing the devoted lover? TSK. Pathetic. Elena's face was completely drained of blood. Her lips trembled so hard she couldn't speak. Beside me, Julian was dumbstruck. He couldn't utter a syllable. 3 days later, Julian hadn't had a drop of water or a grain of rice. He was extremely weak. He looked at me with suspicion. Caleb, did you smuggle food in? Why do you look so healthy? I continued to ignore him. He glared at me coldly, then turned to the screen, crying out to Elena. Elena, baby, please swap with me, okay? I can't take it anymore. I'm going to starve to death. Please. Elena looked up, staring blankly at Julian. A flicker of unbearable pain crossed her eyes. Next to her, Trixie panicked. Don't you dare swap. Julian hates my guts right now. If he comes back down here, it'll be a horror show. Sister, don't do it. If you go up there, you'll never come back down. You'll starve to death. Elena opened her mouth, then looked at me on the monitor. Caleb, are you hungry? I can swap with you too. I regret it. I really regret it. I didn't move. I didn't look at her. I gave no reaction. Julian frowned, bursting into pitiful tears. Elena, why are you looking at him? Do you not want me anymore? We hid our love for so many years. I swallowed my pride and stayed in the shadows for you. And now you're going to watch me die here. He wept heart-wrenchingly, tears and snot flowing together. Where is your heart? What about the love you said you had for me? Was it all fake? Can you bear to watch me die? Huh? Elena froze on the screen. Her eyes held a mix of heartache and profound embarrassment. I just tilted my head, waiting for her choice. Elena lowered her head, her body trembling. Her eyes were a storm of conflict. It seemed like an eternity before she gritted her teeth. Caleb, I'm sorry. Julian saved my life once. She lifted her head, glanced at Julian, and spoke with sudden firmness. I'm swapping Julian down. I'm going up to be with you. I belong to you in life and in death. If we have to die, we die together up there. She confirmed the command immediately. The cold synthetic voice announced, Survival Pass Exchange, Elena Vance, floor 10, and Julian Cross, floor 333. Immediate execution. The elevator doors slid open. Elena ran out. Seeing me, she reached out to grab my hand. Caleb, I'm here to be with you. I sidestepped her. Her hand froze in midair. On the screen, the elevator doors on the 10th floor opened. Julian practically crawled out, tumbling toward the dining table. He grabbed a steaming roast duck, ready to devour it. Suddenly, he glanced up at the surveillance camera. He held the food under his nose, inhaling deeply, then grinned viciously. Elena, I have food now. I can tell the truth. What did you say just now? He threw his head back and laughed maniacally. I saved your life. Let me tell you the truth, you stupid woman. That incident at the pool years ago, I pushed you in. Hero saving the beauty? I wrote the script and directed the whole thing. A brainless idiot like you. I just made up a life debt and had you wrapped around my finger. He licked the roast duck intoxicatedly, then sneered. You think I actually liked you? A married woman pretending to be noble? If not for your family's dirty money, who the hell would play these disgusting sneaking around games with you? You think you're worthy? Elena swayed, her face ashen. She couldn't speak. Julian smelled the duck again, then looked at me with contempt. And you, Caleb Vance, you deserve to starve. A loser who can't even keep his own woman. A bitch and a moron. You two are a match made in heaven. Go ahead, hug each other, and starve to death up there. Seeing I remained silent, he shook the roast duck in his hand tauntingly. See this, Caleb? Roast duck. Greasy. Juicy. I'm breaking my fast, and you won't even get to smell the bones. Caleb, Can you smell it? Jealous? Too bad. Even when you die, you won't get a hot meal. Just rot away on floor 333. Witnessing this, Elena's lips trembled uncontrollably. She looked at Julian with complex emotions, then turned her aggrieved gaze to me. Caleb, I regret it. I shouldn't have given the card to him. Large tears rolled down her cheeks. I didn't look at Elena. I kept my eyes fixed on the roast duck in Julian's hand. Then I spoke, my voice flat. Julian, you won't eat that meat. Julian paused, then laughed loudly. Caleb, did hunger make you crazy? The meat is right by my mouth. It's in my hand. You think a duck this cooked is going to fly away? He brought the duck to his lips, shouting, I'm eating it right now. In front of you, 2 starving ghosts. Watch me eat. Smell it. Then rot together in the penthouse. Loser. He craned his neck, opening his mouth as wide as it would go. His teeth aimed for the glistening, crispy skin, ready to bite down hard. Right at that moment, I snapped my fingers. Time stopped. The image on the monitor froze. Julian's mouth was agape, eyes bulging, the duck leg inches from his teeth. On the 10th floor below him, Trixie was in the middle of stuffing a slice of ham into her sleeve. She froze mid-motion. Elena's tears stopped on her cheeks, suspended in silence. Only I can move. I walked to the freight elevator. Doors opened. Step in. Press 10. I arrived on the 10th floor. Julian sat there, immobile, the duck leg hoisted to his mouth, sauce congealing on his fingers. I walked over and pried the duck leg from his grip. It fell from his hand. I let go. The sound of the object falling was distinct in the absolute silence. The roast duck tumbled into the darkness of the elevator shaft in the center of the platform. I controlled the time stream locally, allowing just the stone platform to rise slowly, ascending to the 11th floor. Then I turned and returned to the 333rd floor. Elena's tear tracks were still fresh. On the monitor, Julian's teeth were millimeters from his empty hand. I raised my hand. Snap. Time resumed. Sound and motion returned instantly. Crack, a sickening crunch, the sound of bones striking hard enamel, exploded from the speakers on the 10th floor. Aya! Julian screamed. His body doubled over, his left hand clutching the bleeding index finger of his right hand. He hopped around, spinning in circles. Pain distorted his face, tears, snot, and drool poured out. My hand. My finger. Fuck. He held up his throbbing hand to look. There was a teeth mark on his index knuckle. The skin was broken, the bone likely fractured. He was shaking, but a greater confusion and terror quickly overtook the pain. He stared wildly at his right hand. Empty. The greasy feeling was there. The sauce was still stained in his fingerprints. But the duck leg. The duck? Where's my duck? His voice cracked with a sob. I had a whole roast duck. It was just in my hand. It was right at my mouth. It flew away. His eyes turned bloodshot as he snapped his gaze to the bewildered Trixie nearby. Trixie was still holding the pose of hiding the ham. When he glared at her, she jumped, dropping the half-hidden slice of meat to the floor. Was it you? Julian lunged, grabbing Trixie by the collar with his bloody, greasy hand, nearly lifting her off the ground. When did you steal it? Huh? While I was biting. Bitch, give me the leg. Trixie, choked and eyes rolling back, clawed at his hands, screaming. Are you crazy? Steal what? I was sitting right here. You were watching. Did you see me steal it? Your duck leg flew away on its own. Why are you blaming me? Bullshit. Julian screamed, in denial. Didn't steal it? Then where is it? Gone. Or did you eat it because you're starving? Where are the bones? Where are the crumbs? He shook her violently. Trixie, dizzy from the assault, struggled and yelled. You lost it yourself, and you're taking it out on me. Look, the stone platform is gone too. She pointed to the deep hole between them. Julian's screaming stopped. Food. Table. Julian went dumb. He mumbled to himself. Where's the table? The platform? He was spiraling, the duck leg disappearing. He could imagine Trixie stole it, but the entire massive stone platform vanishing instantly? He couldn't process it. He jerked his head up, his bloodshot eyes locking onto the surveillance camera for floor 333. My face was on the screen, looking at him calmly. It was you. Julian roared, his voice laced with venom and a near-collapsing terror, pointing at the screen. Caleb, was it you? What did you do? Where's my roast duck? Where's the platform? Speak. Elena was also stunned by this bizarre scene. She looked at the raving Julian, then looked at me in disbelief. Her lips trembled, soundless, her eyes filled with immense confusion and a fear of the unknown. My voice transmitted to the 10th floor, perfectly calm. That meat. I told you. You wouldn't get to eat it. Julian's body swayed, as if the words physically drained his strength. He looked at his empty, greasy, bloody hand, at the empty shaft, and at my calm face on the screen. Impossible. A greater rage and humiliation washed away his reason. He whirled on Trixie, eyes burning with fury. Trixie Hart, what did you call me just now? You call me a simp. Julian's voice was shrill. He grabbed Trixie by the hair and slammed her onto the hard floor. You said I was a loser you got bored of playing with. A simp you strung along for 3 years. The back of Trixie's head hit the floor. She screamed in pain. Julian, you psycho. Let go. I'm a simp. Julian had completely lost his mind. He straddled Trixie, slapping her face with his bloody palm. The sharp smack-smack sounds echoed through the 10th floor. You strung me along, spent my money, took my gifts, made me your workhorse, and now I'm a simp. You cheap slut. He cursed as he hit her, saliva mixed with blood dripping onto Trixie's face. Trixie struggled, her nails scratching furrows into Julian's face and neck. Get off. Loser. You lost your food because you're useless, so you attack me? You are a simp, a delusional simp. You deserve to starve. They were like 2 rabid dogs, rolling, tearing, cursing, and scratching on the cold, empty floor. Julian's howls, Trixie's screams, the sound of flesh striking flesh. It all reverberated in the hollow space. The terror of the vanishing food and their mutual resentment dragged them into an abyss of mutual destruction. Elena curled up in the corner of the 333rd floor, watching the farce on the 10th floor, her body trembling. She watched the man and woman tearing at each other below, watched the face of her lover turn into a demon on the screen. Finally, her gaze moved stiffly to me. The brawl on the 10th floor continued. Julian choked Trixie. Trixie kneed him in the stomach. 2 piles of filth, exhausting themselves on an empty stage. The power of the time stop had stolen the roast duck, torn off their masks, and exposed their vileness and despair to every surveillance camera in the tower. Julian happened to look up, his bloody, grimy face meeting the lens. His pupils reflected a glimmer of oil on his fingertips. His Adam's apple bobbed. Like a dying wild dog, he extended his tongue and licked the bit of congealed sauce from the cracks between his fingers. While they fought, Elena's body beside me seemed to lose its bones. She slid down, her knees hitting the cold floor. No crying, no sobbing, just a heavy, crushing exhaustion. Caleb, her voice was dry, like sandpaper rubbing together. I am sorry. Really, I am sorry. She looked up. No tears on her face, just dead ash. Her eyes looked at me hollowly, void of any emotion, leaving only a numb shell. All these years, you treated me well, and I really did love you. I just didn't expect. When he came back, my heart wavered. She gave a miserable laugh, muttering to herself. Actually, nothing happened between me and Julian. Really, just ambiguous, spiritual, drifting. She inhaled sharply, as if trying to catch a final straw. Will you believe me one more time? Please. I looked into her eyes. There used to be light there. Now only ash remained. I raised a finger and pointed vaguely at her chest. Your heart isn't here with me. It drifted away. Saying all this now is useless. Elena's body shuddered violently. She smiled tragically, a look far uglier than crying. Yeah, saying anything is useless now. Her gaze turned to the surveillance screen, looking down at the massive, empty void. There is no food here. Her voice became utterly calm. We aren't going to survive. Silence reigned until nightfall. Julian leaned against the cold metal wall, panting heavily. His face bore the bloody scratches and bruises from his fight with Trixie. His eyes were bloodshot, staring fixedly at the black hole in the center of the platform. Caleb, he addressed the camera, his voice hoarse, carrying a bravado born of desperation. Last time was an accident. He licked his dry, bleeding lips, his eyes burning with a manic obsession. Hallucination. I must have been dizzy from hunger. Definitely. He seemed to be convincing himself, or perhaps declaring war on me. This time, I will definitely eat. His gaze swept over Trixie, who was huddled in the corner, with undisguised disgust and hatred. Trixie, don't play dead. The platform is coming up soon. This time, cooperate. Do you hear me? Trixie lifted her dirty face, glancing at him with hollow eyes. She said nothing, just shrank back further like a frightened animal. Julian ignored her. His entire attention was focused on the hole beneath his feet. The familiar, heavy humming sound approached from below, carrying the scent of food rising from the abyss. His breathing grew heavy, eyes nearly popping out of their sockets. It's coming. He growled low, body tensing like a drawn bow. The humming grew louder. The massive, round stone table, carrying the new feast, slowly pierced the floor of the 10th level and rose into view. The charred scent of roast chicken, the richness of grease, the sweetness of fruit, the aroma of wheat bread, mixed with the complex odors from the floors below, instantly filling the space. Meat! A beastly gurgle erupted from Julian's throat. He moved. Like a cannonball, driven by reckless greed, he lunged at the edge of the platform. He didn't care about rules. He didn't care about dignity. Both hands shot out like excavators, frantically clawing at the nearest food. A glistening roast chicken leg. He grabbed it, gripping it deathly tight in his left palm, grease dripping down his fingers. A thick steak with charred edges. His right hand clawed into it, meat juices soaking his fingertips. Not enough. He saw a pile of freshly roasted lamb chops nearby, steaming hot. He lunged, using his elbow to brutally sweep away obstructing plates, practically lying on the platform to suppress the food with his body. Mine. All mine. He roared incoherently, drool mixed with oil running down his chin. His eyes stared dead at the camera, filled with naked provocation and the ecstasy of imminent success. Caleb, watch this. I'm eating right now, for you to see. Let's see what tricks you can pull now. His teeth were a hair's breadth away from the succulent lamb chop. In that split second, snap! I raised my hand and snapped my fingers. A crisp sound. Time instantly solidified. The monitor image froze. Julian's body was locked in an extremely twisted posture, draped over the platform. Left hand gripping the chicken leg. Right hand clawing the steak. Mouth open to its limit, teeth a mere filament away from the lamb chop. His eyeballs protruded from extreme greed and excitement. His expression was as grotesque as a demon from hell. Trixie, huddled in the corner, froze into a blurry silhouette. Only I could move. I walked to the elevator, descended to floor 10. Floor 10, a space frozen in time. The aroma of food mixed with the sweat and metallic tang of blood from Julian created a bizarre scent. Julian looked like an ugly statue, immortalized in a moment of gluttony. I walked up to him. My gaze swept over the chicken leg, the steak, and the lamb chop directly beneath his mouth. I reached out, peeling open the fingers of his left hand one by one. The greasy chicken leg fell into my hand. I tossed it casually. Plop! The leg fell into the void. Same action. I peeled open the fingers clawing the steak. The steak fell into the void. Finally, I extended a finger and flicked the lamb chop resting between his gaping mouth and the plate. The chop tumbled, landing precisely in the void. Done. I walked to the platform control panel, pressed the ascend button. The stone table, defying physics in the frozen time, began to rise, passing through the ceiling of the 10th floor, heading for the 11th. I returned to the 333rd floor. Elena's frozen figure stood nearby, staring hollowly at the screen. On the monitor, between Julian's mouth and teeth, only cold air remained. I raised my hand. Snap. Time resumed. Sound, motion, smell instantly returned. Julian's teeth, carrying the full momentum of his body and the ferocity intended to crush bone, snapped shut. Crack! A bone-chilling, brittle sound. Not biting meat, but teeth slamming violently against teeth. Aya! Julian let out a scream, more miserable and agonized than the last. The intense pain drained all his strength instantly. He collapsed like he'd been deboned, rolling onto the floor, hands covering his mouth. Blood and saliva gushed from between his fingers. My teeth! My teeth! He wailed incoherently, tears and snot plastering his face. But a second later, a terror more potent than the toothache seized him. His hands! He jerked his gaze to his left hand, empty. The greasy sensation remained, but where was the chicken leg? Right hand, also empty. The steak! He jerked his head up as if electrocuted, looking at the spot his mouth had targeted. Only the cold, smooth surface of the floor remained. The lamb chop! No! He roared in despair, scrambling and crawling back to the spot he had lunged at, hands frantically feeling the empty air where the platform had been. Where's the meat? Where's my meat? He slapped the cold stone floor psychotically, his voice breaking into sobs. Chicken leg. Steak. Lamb chop. It was just there. In my hand. In my mouth. The table is gone too. He snapped his head up, eyes bloodshot, filled with endless horror and a breakdown, staring dead at the 333rd floor surveillance screen. My face was clearly reflected there. It's you. He pointed at the screen, screaming himself hoarse, every word tearing from his throat. Caleb, it's you again. What the hell did you do? Where's my meat? Where's the platform? Speak. Speak to me. His mind completely shattered. Under the immense hunger and the consecutive, bizarre, terrifying blows, he lost the last shred of his sanity. He stopped looking at the screen. Instead, like a true rabid dog, he dropped to all fours, crawling frantically across the smooth, cold floor where the platform had been. He sniffed, clawing at non-existent cracks with his fingernails, a desperate, beast-like whimper rising from his throat. Meat! My meat! Get it back! Please! Get it back! He lay there, body convulsing violently, saliva mixed with blood dripping onto the cold stone. In front of the screen, Elena watched numbly. Her face held no expression, like a sculpture bereft of soul. She watched the lover she once idolized transform into a mad dog crawling on an empty floor. She watched the man for whom she betrayed her husband be toyed with like a clown by an invisible force. Her lips moved slightly, as if she wanted to say something, but in the end, no sound came out. Elena turned to look at me, then suddenly froze. Caleb, just now, you snapped your fingers. And last time, when Julian's meat vanished, the platform vanished. You snapped your fingers both times. She paused, realization dawning. Do you have the ability to stop time? I didn't speak. Her voice began to tremble. All these years, I've never been hurt. Not once. Car accidents, that fire. The flames even singed my hair. But in the end, I didn't lose a single strand. Was that you? I thought about it. In our years of marriage, I had indeed protected her at every turn. Every relieved smile after a near miss. Every time she hugged me saying, honey, I'm so lucky, had now become the sharpest irony. I didn't answer. Silence was the only answer I could give, and it was a knife dipped in poison. Elena's eyes dimmed. Ah. A short gasp escaped her throat, sounding worse than a sob. She slid down the wall, collapsing to the floor, burying her head deep between her knees. I'm so stupid. Her voice was muffled, weak, numb, like she was talking to herself. I really am. The stupidest woman alive. I personally threw away the person who loved me most. Julian didn't see our exchange. He was panting, staring at Trixie. Trixie, you still have a chance to swap. You can swap Caleb down here. Swap him. I want to tear him apart with my own hands. Trixie laughed contemptuously. Swap him down. Julian, did hunger eat your brain, or did you get beaten stupid? Floor 10. This is the 10th floor. The stone platform passes by every day. Even if it's just scraps, we can lick the grease from the cracks in the plates. She pointed a finger upward toward the 333rd floor, shouting, you want me to swap up there? Floor 333. Do you know what that place is? It's a graveyard. By the time the platform gets there, there won't even be a fart left. Going up there is waiting to die, starving into a mummy. Do you think I'm brainless like you? She hugged her arms, shrinking back. Want to drag me down to cushion your fall? Keep dreaming. Julian stumbled to his feet and lunged at Trixie again. They fought once more, but Julian had no strength left. After a brief scuffle, he lay on the floor, panting weakly. Suddenly, he struggled to sit up, then fell to his knees. His filthy forehead slammed heavily onto the cold, hard floor with a dull thud. Elena. When he lifted his head again, the gore and tears on his face had mixed into a grotesque mask. His voice was humble to the point of dust, thick with sobbing and begging. Elena. Look at me. Help me. It's him. It's Caleb doing this. Beg him. Beg him to let me go. I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Ask him to give me a bite of food. Just one bite. I am dying. Elena. For the sake of our past. Save me. Please, Elena. He loves you so much, he'll listen to you. His forehead slammed down again, a heavy, desperate sound. Elena smiled numbly. She opened her mouth to speak to the screen. Julian, this time, I choose for you to die. I choose for you to die. Elena's voice was calm, rippleless. On the screen, Julian's kowtowing motion froze. He slowly lifted his head, bloodshot, cloudy eyes staring dead at the lens, seemingly trying to pierce the screen to see the expression on Elena's face. The last trace of color drained from his face instantly. Something in those eyes was completely extinguished. The last light, the last hope, the last shred of manic obsession, poof, snuffed out. Only hollow ash remained. His body swayed. He stopped kneeling and collapsed like a pile of rotten mud, curling up on the cold floor. His filthy face pressed against the ground, eyes half open, staring straight ahead. His pupils reflected the cold, unfeeling, circular glint of the camera lens. He stopped moving. Elena withdrew her gaze. She stopped looking at Julian on the screen. She curled up, arms wrapping tight around her knees, chin resting on them. She huddled in the shadow at my feet, very close, yet separated by a universe of cold air. I was wrong. She began to speak, her voice as light as a dream, broken. Really wrong. Her eyes stared blankly into the void. Shouldn't have. Swap cards. Shouldn't have. Trusted him. Shouldn't have. Thrown you away. On the 10th floor platform, only Trixie remained. She huddled in the corner farthest from Julian's corpse. Since Julian fell, she hadn't moved. She looked at the screen again, looking at my face. She knew that in the days to come, she wouldn't get any food either. She staggered to her feet, walked to the edge of the hole in the 10th floor, and leaped into the abyss, vanishing from sight. The days that followed were devoid of waves. I don't know how much time passed before the cold, synthesized voice sounded. Survival's cycle concluded. Game over. I stood up and took the elevator to leave. I didn't look back at Elena. A piercing light flooded in. Outside light. The light of the real world. The doors slid shut silently behind me, completely sealing off that cold, starving world of calculation and death. The smell of bleach and despair was left behind. Outside, it was open. The air carried a sense of spacious freedom. The wind blew against my face, brushing past my ears, carrying the faint, distant sounds of the city. Who controlled this game? Where are they watching from? Why did they do it? These questions were like stones thrown into a deep pool, causing a brief ripple in my mind. Then they sank rapidly, disappearing without a trace. Maybe I'd play with them properly later. I had to say, the buffet wasn't bad. Great presentation, taste, and aroma. End. Story complete.